Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great, Bob. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You know what? Today is Taco Tuesday. It is also Cinco de Mayo. It is the best Taco Tuesday ever.
I would think. I would think.
Um,
I was at the supermarket today, and I saw no presence of like Cinco de Mayo.
no presents at all. No,
None. That's
interesting.
kind of surprised me. Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me.
I used
It's
to
the
see
world
it.
we live in.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not crazy about that place.
Yeah, no, it's not so good.
I
Um,
have a technical question for
yeah.
you. For those of our dear, patient, and brilliant viewers of the SquadCast, do they see the countdown clock at the beginning of the show?
Yes.
They see the same countdown clock that I see.
Yes. They see the same.
I love our countdown clock because those things generally don't have two or one on them.
Right. Well, it goes that way. That's the way, that's part that countdown clock is actually part of our intro. So when we go live, it goes from the countdown clock right into then um Pray for Rain, which is our intro song by Space and Time, and our intro with our who we are and who we've had on the show and all of that stuff. We're live. I don't have any no not too many people are watching at this point, but we'll hopefully get that up there. It was a little bit of a wacky thing on the setup for tonight, so I want to apologize if anybody's coming in. That we got some people. Some people are showing up. That's good. Um, but yeah, there was a little bit of a wacky thing. Sometimes with our streaming platform provider, we'll get a situation where I will can tell, and sometimes I can't tell ahead of time, but I'll find out that when we go live, sometimes on Facebook, we're not quite there, and I have to reset it. But we are there tonight because I kind of did that about a half an hour ago. Also, on my side, we've done something where, in this studio that is my basement. Um, I did some wiring cable running over the weekend, so we're now in a permanent state of being wired to our internet provider. So I was happy about that. So
All right.
hopefully it
What
stays
does
in this
that
state.
mean? What does that mean? You're in a
Well,
permanent
so
state.
what does that mean is that I ran a cable from our internet router to
Hmm.
that goes directly to my computer, which I'm broadcasting off of. I
Right.
usually do that. A lot of times I'll do that to make sure that I stay steady. Um, and sometimes I don't, though. Sometimes I'm just wirelessly connected to our internet provider. But now I ran a cable so that I'm always plugged into the wired connection. So,
Good.
which means the cable's not running down the stairs for people to trip on.
Yeah,
So,
got that. I'm looking forward to next month when, for the first time in my life, I will have a choice of cable providers.
hmm,
I know that's amazing.
choices in this economy? What?
Well, I mean, who knows with the whole? I mean, the entire television industry is confused, and I'm being polite.
Sure.
But I really hate our cable company.
Sure.
I hate them because they bought a cable company that didn't have a great reputation, but was flawless for me and was flawless in three different cities, two different states. So I like those guys. These guys they sold out to these guys. These guys suck. The signal keeps on dropping and all kinds of nonsense. And I am looking forward to the opportunity to move my business elsewhere. One of many reasons why I don't like monopolies.
So that's good. We have a couple of choices here in internet provider.
Mm-hmm.
There's several, but um, you know, I've gone with the higher bandwidth company for the last 13 years. So I'm
Yeah. I'm
mostly
looking
happy with
for.
it. You're never
I'm
happy with having to pay somebody for something so generic, but
no, that's not true. I'm fine with paying people humans, not corporations. And I'm absolutely fine with that. If you earn the money, you deserve the money. I'm fine with that. If I don't have the money, then I'll think it over. Maybe I'll rip you off. Maybe, I'll get a gun. I don't know. But you
Right.
earn it,
Well,
deserve it.
the problem is that typically with situations like this is that the quality continues to erode while the cost continues to escalate. And
Yes.
um and that's usually why there's options that you now can take a look at. So I'm glad. Good for you.
And by the way, I bought gasoline today.
How much was it?
Wasn't that bad. It was 450, 449,
When was
something
the last
like
time you
that.
paid 450 for gas?
Oh, 4 years ago, and I wasn't in Connecticut. I was in
So that,
Illinois,
yeah, that doesn't
and I
count. In
had,
Connecticut.
yeah, I mean, because Illinois it's gasoline is expensive. Nothing like the West Coast, which is
Sure.
criminal. $6.50 for a gallon.
I mean, I don't think I've ever paid this much. Even in the worst of times during the pandemic, we didn't we didn't have the prices that we're having now. It got like right to where, but it's got no signs of going anywhere other than
No, it's not going to get better anytime soon, and maybe not in our lifetimes. I am so ancient that when I first started to buy gasoline, and mind you, I got my driver's permit when I was 15 and a half years old. They had different laws back then. Gasoline could be found as cheaply as 33 cents a gallon. Now, comic books were a dime, 12, maybe 12 cents. So everything is relative. But I keep on thinking back to those days where they had gas wars.
I mean, today comic books cost more than a gallon of gasoline. They should, in terms of the way that they. Well, I'm just not in
Yeah.
normal times, but I mean, yeah, it's not getting very good. Let's talk about something else.
Okay.
Let's leave the
Happier
horror.
subject. Happier
Let's leave the
subjects.
horror outside of this SquadCast and let's talk about something more interesting. There's a good story out there, and I hope that it remains a feel good story, and I choose to believe that it will be. There's a gentleman by the name of Timmy Heeg, whom a lot of people know. He runs Arsenal Comics and Games in California, and I wanted to talk about. Let's see. Let me grab this. I want to talk about the fact that he is running right now a campaign, or helping to run a campaign to. Boy, 1 second. Here it is. Here we go. Action Comics #1. There's a copy of Action Comics #1 he came across that someone reached out to him to help fund or to help facilitate the sale or auction of this Action Comics #1. It's currently graded in a CGC conserved grade, and I'm not going to pretend to understand exactly what that means. I know that it at one point was attempted to be repaired, and so this is the conserved real grade of what it is, 7.0. And his current bid is $725,000. It has 1 day to go. Now, I don't have the $725,000 or actually, it's really, the next bid is $737,500, and it's really $899,750 because there's a buyer's premium that you have to pay on top, included on top of the cost, right? And I'm not sure who the buyer's premium goes for. Heritage Auctions is where you can get to this, and I'm going to put a link in the show notes so that you can see where this is. It goes. It's only got a day to go, so I don't know if people who watch this later will see it. But anyway, we're talking about it now. Why this particular issue, this particular item? Do I want to mention the main reason is that while it's an interesting story about the back of it, and there's an interview with Timmy Heeg on Comics Beat if you want to go check that out. But the facilitator, Timmy, is donating a portion of his commission to Comics Pro, Bink, and Hero Initiative. And I find that to be refreshing. There's a world out there where people are constantly, well, I'm gonna do this for you, so I'm gonna take a piece of it. Well, okay, I guess you did some work here, but people taking a piece and then taking some of that piece for not a whole lot of work and giving it to other people, I think is a good thing.
The Kinks had a record back 40, 50 years ago.
I did not think the Kinks were going to make it into this conversation.
I'm ready. Come on.
I'm ready.
All right. They had a song called The Money Go Round.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you know the song?
I believe I've heard it once or twice.
It's about what you should have listened to my show. It's about what happens to a rock star or a group once they have their first big hit, and what happens to the money. And I don't know a freelancer in the world throughout my personal history who cannot directly relate to that, even though those who are not musicians. It's the same in every sort of freelancer-based industry. By the way, that cover worked its way into, probably not that it had a mind of its own, the Spider-Man Superman crossover that came out last week.
Sure. Well,
and I loved it.
There was the wasn't it a Spider-Man 1 cover? There was wasn't it Todd? There was a Spider-Man cover where they basically did the homage thing, and it was
I
think it was Todd, and we'll talk about Todd later, hopefully. I remember being struck by that, and I haven't seen this. I've not read the Spider-Man Superman. Is it Spider-Man Superman this week? They just came out.
It's Spider-Man Superman. Yeah,
I have the Superman Spider-Man. I haven't read the other one.
I have to admit that this particular issue, and I've liked some of them. I mean, I like some of the stories. They're anthology books, and I mean that with praise. But this one overall, as a package, is probably the best of the bunch, or at least the most fun I've had.
I've heard that. I've heard that it's definitely up there. Yeah, from more than just you. So that's, I think that's good.
From relatively sane people as well. Wow.
I think so. Well, how sane can be.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
Next topic I want to talk about is this past weekend on Saturday. It was the 2nd of May. Today's the 5th of May. But on the 2nd of May, it was Free Comic Book Day. And it is the first Free Comic Book Day in the post-Diamond world. It was a conglomeration of the different distributors kind of trying to figure out how to support retailers with this day, distributors and or publishers, and trying to find a way to make it go. And from the reports that I've seen and the things that I witnessed firsthand, I think it was a pretty big success. I think I know some retailers. I haven't talked to all of them, but I did. People seem to be having a good time. Friends of ours who are pros, who it's a big day for pros. Like it's holiday. Pros show up.
Yeah.
Every comic shop finds a pro to come and be there. They were happy with the turnout, response, dollars being spent.
I saw a clip on the news, on the local news here, of a Manhattan comic shop. I think it was Forbidden Planet, but they didn't show the store so much. They showed the line of people waiting to get in. and the line was being controlled by, police barriers.
Mhm.
That's how busy it was. And, I mean, you can see you can put together a crowd in Manhattan at any point in time. There's still people waiting on Fifth Avenue for Trump to shoot somebody. We gawk a lot in New York because there's so much to gawk at. But that theme pleased me immensely. Immensely.
Yeah. Like I was saying, it was our good friend Mars was at Blue Hen Comics in Delaware, and took a video of the line outside, which was huge.
Yeah.
I did make it over to Cards, Comics, and Collectibles in Reisterstown, which is the home of the esteemed Grand Poobah of Baltimore Comic Con. Saw some friends there. There was plenty of activity. The recap from the pros who were there, people spent money. People enjoyed being there. It was a success as far as I can tell, and I'm happy to see that. That was a concern of mine, going into the weekend, because it's something that came out of some folks, but with the partnership of Diamond, and without the partnership of Diamond, I wasn't sure that it would continue.
Well, yeah, it became an item to sell. It
was actually an asset that was sold.
Right. It was a separate asset. But because Diamond is no longer in business, that means that new distributors and more distributors came into effect. And Marvel and DC have different distributors once again. And so you kind of wonder, like, how's this Free Comic Book Day thing going to work if you have different distributors? Well, it does seem to work. Now, I'd only been to one store, and quite frankly, and it's not the store's fault, I was a little disappointed that I was only able to snag like one book that I thought would be fun. But they didn't have, they were out of some titles or didn't order some titles. So, okay, fine. And then I read it and it was great, but it was only the first half of the story, and I didn't get the impression that the second half was actually ever done. So I have a little creepy thought here. The thing about Free Comic Book Day, though, is that usually a smart retailer who has the staff will put other stuff on the sale, like T-shirts or what have you, because you have all these people in, and some of them are not regulars. They come in every once in a while, and maybe they would like to buy that T-shirt, and instead of spending $20 for it, it costs $12. Well, maybe it's worth it to you for $12. So I like that. I think that those retailers who use Free Comic Book Day as a means to build community are doing it right. Those who are taking it one step further to sell some more stuff at a price that their clientele might appreciate, great opportunity. Take advantage of it, folks. So I like Free Comic Book Day in the broadest sense.
Again, the feedback that I've gotten is very positive. I'm happy to say that it survived. I'm hoping that we will continue to say that in the years to come, because it is an important day. It's a big day for retailers in the direct market, and we do want to support them as best as possible. But it's also stores.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go.
Comic book stores are destination stores. You get in your car and you drive to the comic book store. Although for several years I lived across the street from mine, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
So if you're getting in the car and you're driving and parking and walking over and getting your stuff, you're spending gasoline.
Sure.
You're spending, yeah. I mean,
we had, for people who are joining late, we've discussed the price of gasoline already.
Yes. So if you're going out along with a million other people to your locally friendly neighborhood comic book store for Free Comic Book Day, it costs you more than it did last year to do that. You gotta wanna. Everybody's thinking twice about going to the supermarket and what have you. You gotta wanna.
And like I said, the good part is that while it's free, the comic books are free for Free Comic Book Day. The special limited, free comics are there. They're not free to the retailers. And from my understanding, people were willing to put up a couple of bucks and spend some money, and people did well. And I hope that continues. Our guest is here. He's in the backstage, and I'm excited to have Matt Rosenberg here. It's been a long time since I've talked to him, and he's got a whole bunch of new stuff going out. Like it's a lot and good, and we're gonna get into a lot of it. We're gonna get into some heavy stuff tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks everybody for being here, but I don't want to wait any longer, so I'm gonna bring Matthew in. Welcome to the show for the first time, Matthew Rosenberg. Hi, Matthew. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
We're doing swell, Matthew. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you as well. I also appreciated that intro. It was kind of intimidating seeing all those.
It is. It's an amazing group of work. Also, I like your lighting. You're very dramatic.
Thank you. Yeah. There's a big mess behind me, and I thought if I just turn off all the
smart.
You wouldn't know. So
yeah. I learned that when I first bought my house.
Yeah. Just keep everything dark. Don't buy light bulbs, and it's clean all the time. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I typically try to do that to our guests and bring back some memories about what they've done. And to be honest, it's fun for me because there's so many of those books that I loved. I enjoyed. I couldn't wait for it. There was a point where I'm like, oh, listen, you were doing so many things, and everything was great, and that hasn't changed. I'm just saying there was a point where there was new Matthew Rosenberg book every other month.
There was, it was too much.
There's that, but it was all good. So I have nothing to complain about.
I appreciate it.
So we got a lot to talk about. And we're going to get to this for folks who are listening. We are going to get to Spawn. We're going to get to If Destruction Be Our Lot. We're going to get to Four Kids Walk Into a Bank. Can we talk about that?
Sure.
You can't even mention it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if Liam Neeson's going to come after me or something like that.
Well, I can't say what Liam's.
Well, that's always possible.
Yeah.
That's always possible. Why is the New Yorker wearing an SF cap?
It's a long story. I am a Mets fan, but I grew up rooting for the Giants, and I grew up playing video game Nintendo 64 baseball with my good friend, and I played as the Giants against him. And I went to go see him recently, and I bought a Nintendo 64 so we could play at his house when I was visiting him. And I bought a Giants uniform, and so now I have the hat, and I want to get my money's worth. So I wear the hat sometimes.
So you played in the uniform.
I played in a full Barry Bonds uniform. Yes, that's
and correct. He was wearing what?
T-shirt and jeans.
Lack of commitment.
And that's why I won. I won.
There you go. That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, we showed up to win. That's it.
But of course, if you're dressed that way at the Mets game,
No, it doesn't go great. It doesn't go
no, it doesn't. You see,
can't do that.
I'm a native Chicagoan, and I like the Mets, but it's hard to like them both because neither city will let you do that.
Yeah, sure.
So the first time I was in New York at a Mets Cubs game, I sat on my hands and shut the hell up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. That was it. It was like, don't hit me.
Yeah, it's smart. It's smart.
Well, it's good for me.
Luckily, the Mets and the Giants are both terrible, so no one really cares. This year, they're both awful, so no one really cares that much.
I mean, I grew up a Mets fan, and now I live in Baltimore, so I can root for the Orioles because they both hate the Yankees. So it's good.
Easy.
Yeah, but the Orioles is an American League team.
Right. Well, that's what's here. That's all I got.
I know. I understand that, but I still don't consider the American League to be legitimate.
Okay.
Well, listen. The American League is older than you.
Yes, and that deserves respect.
All right. Let's start with Spawn. I want to start with Spawn only because I need you to do something for me. So the news came out earlier this year that you are taking over writing Spawn and King Spawn. The issue next week, I think, is the last issue of Spawn where you have a small little intro in it, and then the following issue is all your stuff. Right? Is that how that works?
That is correct. Yes.
375 and then 376 is yours going forward.
Me and Steven Segovia have a 5-page story in the back of Todd and Brett Booth's 375 in next 2 weeks.
What's your connection to Spawn?
We went to college together. No, my connection to Spawn is I grew up, I was at that age. For me, when I fell in love with comics was right as all of the Image founders were about to flee Marvel. So I loved comics and was reading comics all the time, and then was starting to discern that the reason I liked a book was not what the character did so much as who the names in the credits were. And so I realized, like, oh, this book always says Todd McFarlane, and I always like this one. And this one always says Jim Lee, and I always like this one, or whoever it was. And so that's a major
that as you're growing up and becoming a comics fan, that is a huge realization.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It feels extra difficult for me because both my parents are writers. So I should understand that story comes from a person, but it still was a very foreign thing to me for my first few years of just like, well, I love G.I. Joe, but I didn't realize that what I love is Larry Hama's writing. I love, whatever it was. And so it when Todd and all of them left and went to Image, I followed them. I went and got all those books. So I bought Spawn #1 when it came out and have been a fan ever since. So that's my connection, is that I was there at the start. I mean, for me, for people of my generation, like, I love Spider-Man, I love Batman, but my parents liked Spider-Man and Batman. And Spawn is the first character that felt like my own to me.
Are your grandparents still with us?
No. And they didn't like comics when they were. So
I read comics. I read Spawn #1 under very unusual circumstances.
Okay.
I read it from the art boards, from the original art, in Todd McFarlane's living room when he was still living in British Columbia. And I was there with my buddy Mike Groh, and Mike and I spent like 6 hours there, 8 hours, which is shorter than it takes to get there because it's on Vancouver Island. And we were having this wonderful time, but Todd kept on referring to himself in the third person for 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
And we got on the ferry to go back to the mainland around 2 a.m, last ferry out. And all we could do was talk about everybody in the third person, like that, including ourselves. But seeing the majesty of that of that artwork. I mean, I like Todd's artwork an awful lot.
Yeah,
he may not believe that, but you know, he sent me samples when I was at First Comics. You know,
oh yeah,
I really like his work, and in those days, so much of it was lost at the printer, at the engraver.
yeah.
You know, today, you know, maybe we can get some of that artwork out and it's visible if the colorist doesn't just refuses to let up. I mean, for crying out loud, come on. But you could see that stuff better than you could back then. So I would imagine that a complicated looking character like Spawn is actually more visible today than during Todd's era.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It feels to me, I was just in Los Angeles and with Todd, I went and had dinner with him, and I met him and he was doing sketches beforehand for comic shops and for charity stuff, and he would sketch Spawn, and it was so interesting because it's such a simple design in some ways, and in some ways it's not simple at all, and he makes it look very easy and elegant in a way that is deceptive, I think.
I agree.
I love the design. I mean, I think it's, you know, one of the last of the true iconic character designs.
So you were there from the day one. So when this opportunity presented itself, what was your thought? Was it no question, I'm taking it, I want it? How did that happen?
Well, I had around 5 to 10 seconds to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah, Todd reached out to me and said, you know, he wanted to have a phone call, and I spent, you know, he said, can we talk next week? And so I spent the weekend, for some reason, convinced that he was calling me about action figures. I don't know why.
Sure.
I was just like, he's going to talk to me about toys. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Sure.
not a thing that someone would normally talk to me about. And then right before, I was like, what? He's not going to talk to me about toys. Like, he's going to ask me about a book. And I thought, well, I love Sam and Twitch. I want to do Sam and Twitch. Like, I'm going to take my shot and just, you know, whatever he's saying, I'm going to say, can I get, when the chair is empty, can I have Sam and Twitch? Or can I do a Sam and Twitch mini when next to the current book or whatever? And, you know, 2 or 3 minutes into the call, he said, so what do you think about taking over Spawn? And, you know, it just all goes out the window, like any sort of thoughts or planning or whatever. And I try to live by that old that scene in Ghostbusters, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. When Todd says, do you want to take over Spawn? You go, yeah, I do. Yeah. And I had no idea what I wanted to do yet. I had never thought about writing Spawn in a real way. I'd just always been a fan, but I was like, I'll figure it out. Let's go. So
you figured it out?
I hope so. We'll find out in a few weeks if I figured it out.
So you were in the position of the actor who is cast for a part, and the director says, can you ride a horse?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the only answer to that question is yes, and 9 times out of 10 they're lying.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I
wanted to write Spawn, you just didn't think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I knew the character, I knew the book. I've been reading the book for years. So I knew it was possible in the same way that I intellectually understand that riding a horse is possible, but I didn't have any ideas. I didn't go into the call being like, well, here's what I would do. But I did, you know, I had enough. I mean, that first call, we were on the phone for almost 4 hours. So I did talk about ideas and thoughts, and you know, I tried to ask a lot of questions. I tried to figure out what he wanted and what he thought the character should be and the book should be. Which is still a thing I'm learning and figuring out as we go.
So here's the thing. When you were that age, and I find this, I figured this out a couple of years ago, that all of my friends who are your age were the perfect age for Image.
Yeah.
You were their demographic.
100%.
There's a lot of you who are all now making comics.
For sure.
And you're all about somewhere between 5 and 10 years younger than me. and I was in college, which is the worst time for comics because it's that time where you don't have any money and you're not. So I missed the Image launch. I came back in about 95 and I,
very different thing.
So why do I want to read Spawn?
Well, you're out of college now.
I'm just asking.
No. You've gotten out of college. Hopefully you have a few more dollars.
I do. I listen, I buy a lot of Matthew Rosenberg stuff.
Well, now you can buy Spawn. I think that the thing for me, my feeling on Spawn is it works in two ways. There's the character reason, which I think it's a great character, it's a great universe. Sure. He's built this iconic idea, this iconic story and legacy, and it is really much more. And look, I'm going to be pitting it against your Batmans and Spider-Mans. I'm not casting aspersions on those characters. I have thousands of books with them in them. I love Batman and I love Spider-Man. I love those characters. Spawn, although Todd hasn't written it the whole time, he's had his hand on the wheel the whole time. It is very much a singular vision of a character. And that, I think, is something that, if you like comics or even like story, is fascinating and worth your time and effort. The legacy of the character, what it means, what the book means, I think is really important. But I also just think, like, removed from that, it's a great character in a great world that is doing things that I don't think other books do. And it changes. What Spawn is changes from era to era. But, like, I mean, it was a groundbreaking book when it started. It's very, I've been rereading all of it, and it's so different than anything else. It reads almost like underground comics. Like it really is very surreal at times, very strange book. Like there's the first 3 issues, there's almost no antagonist. You don't kind of know anything about the character. It's just Todd's brain poured out on the page with just this gorgeous art. Now, why would you read Spawn now? I would say that we're trying to do something. We're trying to take a character that's existed for 30 plus years, and we're not throwing anything out. We're not retconning it, but we are putting it somewhere all new, all changing a ton of stuff, changing a bunch of things, allowing for people to come on board, allowing for people who've been Spawn curious or never even thought about Spawn to check it out, and hopefully unlocking this great legacy of this character that is so important to comics and so cool. I think he's just an amazingly cool character.
And he's a survivor.
Sure.
Spawn has been around, as you had pointed out, for like over 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's like, it's on its second, third generation. But its first generation was raised with like punk rock. And some of those sentiments, which I think are crucial to our overall culture,
sure,
were to be found in Spawn in particular, and in a great many of the other Image titles at the time. Yeah. And even though, the muscle tones were a little extreme, and, you can make all those criticisms, and that's fine. You can do that at any point in time. That stuff took advantage of an audience that had not been catered to on their own terms.
For sure. Yeah. I think in the same way that you hear people talk about Spider-Man and how Spider-Man or the Hulk felt different in the 60s. Like it was a different statement. It felt revolutionary to what we had before it. I think Spawn does the same thing in the 90s. I think Spawn is groundbreaking. It doesn't come with a cultural revolution, but it comes with a comics revolution.
Sure.
Ian and Jack, not so much Steve, really backed into the culture of their times.
Sure.
And I think it was a coincidence. For some reason, you go back, Jack's work always incorporated the essence of rock and roll. Always, larger than life, in your face. And I guess Stan is also larger than life and in your face. So maybe that qualifies too. But it was very relevant because DC in those days was looking moribund. I mean, it was like, this is the same old shit that we've been reading for decades.
Yeah.
Which is unfair to all the brilliant new talent or young talents, most of which they stole from. They didn't steal from Charlton, which is the same reason why Dick Giordano offered me the job I had at DC the second time around. Same philosophy. And I respect that. I admire that too, because you want to incorporate what's going on now. And at some point in time, you realize that the kids, the readers who are, if not younger, are sort of looking for a younger type experience.
Sure.
Don't relate to go-go chicks.
Yeah. I mean, I think Stan's, the world outside your window idea is, to me as a kid, when that was explained to me, I grew up in New York, so I was like, well, yeah, I get it. I see Central Park. I see Hell's Kitchen. Like, I go to these places. I see the subway. Like, the one train comes, that's the train I take to go to school. So it felt that. But it took me a long time to understand that he wasn't talking about architecture. He wasn't talking about streets. He was talking about reflections of the culture and the political climate and the mood of the country. And
that's right.
I think that's something that, for better or worse, I mean, I think for worse, I don't know why I'm saying for better or worse, I think something for worse that Marvel and DC have stepped away from to a degree, and I understand why, but you don't feel as much connection, that it feels like it's you don't feel like you're reading something that's a crucial commentary on the world anymore. And I think now, just in the past year or two, you're starting to see that come back in DC in a big way, and I think it's very exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I agree.
I think that's talking about it, that is what Image has. A lot of legacies. I think that is one of them, because it was a place for people to talk about things. That the Image for the past 30 something years has been a place where, beyond the the funny pages and the crazy superhero stuff, there were serious conversations going on from writers, and that was a place where people could go and have those conversations, and also gave space for other publishers to have that place as well. I think Image has a positive legacy in that regard, without question.
For sure. I think I wouldn't be here as a creator without both the intellectual idea of Image, that the artist forward idea of like claiming your legacy, and also the business idea of Image, that there's a place to go that isn't dominated by Warner Brothers or Disney or anything, that there's an outlet you can go where the things you make are your own. So I think in both the creativity, from a creativity standpoint and a business standpoint, Image, I think my generation of creators, almost none of them would be here if it weren't for Image.
Sure. I think that's
I think you guys would be very different.
Sure.
Maybe 2-3 heads or something, but very, very different.
I don't know that they would be here today, though, Mike. I think that they probably would have gotten burnt out and too poor and moved on. There's a lot of that
we've always had in the comics field. People who just say, "Look, I got to write a little bit here for me," and this is true for the artists as well. But Matt's a writer, so what the hell? You got to put. You're writing. You got to put something of yourself in there. You can't stop that.
Yeah.
And if you pay attention to the world around you, and I'm not saying for political reasons, for storytelling reasons, you're surrounded by stuff that you can pick from.
Sure.
And I think you're making a mistake by not looking at the real world as a source of material.
For sure.
So there's this new book coming out from Image like tomorrow. It's got this long name. It's called If Destruction Be Our Lot. I don't know. This guy, Andy McDonald, who is fantastic, is drawing it.
He is fantastic.
What do you know about this book?
That's a tough logo.
Well, the logo's complicated. We had a different logo We had a different logo that I worked with the amazing Tim Daniel to design, and I had this vision. I said I want it to look like a quill pen font. I want it to look like someone who would sign, the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution. I want it to have that look, and then start to be digitally distorted and break up and get pixelated as it went. And he did an amazing job, and we really loved it. And we put it on posters, we made stickers of it, and we sent out preview books with it. And then retailers started reaching out and being like, can't read this, no one knows what it says. And I was like, no, it's great, it's really cool, it tells the story of the logo. And enough retailers were like, yeah, they don't really teach script, they don't teach cursive in school anymore, so anyone under 20 something doesn't literally know how to read it. And so then we went back at the last minute, like a week before we went to press, and got a new logo, which I really love. Tim Daniel did another. I went to him and I was like, I have an impossible task for you. You had a month to do it last time. Can you do the same thing but better in a week? And so he came up with our logo now, which I really love.
Yeah, it is. I do. As you're telling the story, I remember seeing the original logo.
Yeah,
and I like that better.
I've heard from both. I've heard people.
I'm not. Listen.
Oh no, I get it.
Logos.
I get it. I had, the day we changed it, I sent out an email to retailers being like, we changed the logo, and a very large retailer was like, no, the old logo was so good.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, I can't, like, once you give people two choices, you're never going to get everyone to pick one of them. But people knowing, I was very resistant at first, and then Image posted a picture of the cover with the old logo, and the first comment on Instagram was, I don't know what this book is called, and the second person said, I think it's called this and got it wrong. And I was like, well, that seals it for me. Like, they're looking at it and they don't know what it says. We're done. So
yeah, that's a good test right there.
There should be like B or C covers with like the old logo.
We talked about that. I said, should all the B covers have the old logo? And everyone was like, that just seems like brand wise really confusing. Like, just go and stick with it. And I was like, well, I have 5,000 stickers that have the old logo on them.
I want one.
Well, I will send you one. I'll send you 1,000 if you want.
Okay.
But yeah, the logo. I really like the logo. I think it's really nice now. I really like the old logo too. I feel very.
Yeah, I'm good on both.
Yeah.
What amazes me about that first issue is that it's not the logo. I mean, you need to be committed to work it out if you don't get it instantly. But the fact that you have a white background, you have this green logo on a white background, and somehow it manages to pop. It's not supposed to when you do that type of a color scheme with those many letters.
Yeah.
It's
someone said early on, they were like, it's hard to read in like a thumbnail. And I was like, yeah, because it's a sentence. Like, any sentence is going to be hard to read in a thumbnail. Like, I can't do anything about that.
I need you to hold on to that, because we want to get into that later. But let's talk about this book right now. So this book is Humanity's Extinct, and all that remains are the robots who once helped us. The robots who once helped us are happier now, doing their work without human interference, but not Abe. He believes that there must be something more out there. After getting nearly killed, he's determined to wander the earth until he finds it or gets recycled trying. That is the synopsis, or the solicit for issue 1 of If Destruction Be Our Lot. In case people are just listening, they don't know that Matthew Rosenberg is the writer of the things I said earlier about Andy McDonald.
I've read this.
So tell us about this. Where did this come from? How did this come to you?
Yeah. So the origin of this is not my normal comics origin story. I live in New York, and I like to go for a walk at the end of my work day and clear my head. I work late, so it's usually 2-3 in the morning, and I just get some fresh air. And I streets are pretty empty, and in the middle of that, I had this funny idea of the animatronic Abraham Lincoln from the Hall of Presidents wandering empty streets of New York, and it made me chuckle. And I found that a week or two would pass and I was still thinking about that. And I was like, well, I don't know why this is just stuck in my head. But my brother, who's a screenwriter and director by trade, we'd been talking about trying to do something together for a long time. And so I brought that to him and I said, is this anything? And he said, well, it's a cool visual. It's not a story. And I said, yeah, but like, is the visual worth us digging in on? And he thought it was, and that's it. Like, that's the I wish I had some more grandiose thing, but it just popped to me and I thought it was funny.
It is. And I've heard you say that. So, but I think there's more to it. I don't think you should dismiss it in the way that you're. I think there is, there's something about that visual and how it stuck with you, and the ability for you and everyone else involved to craft this into a story that's gotten quite a bit of buzz. I'm excited for it.
Well, it indicates that your brain thinks that there's a lot here.
Yeah.
Even if you're not paying attention to it. So you should hear your brain out. I lived on the Upper West Side for a couple of years.
Where I grew up.
Some time ago, but yes, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I didn't move back into Manhattan because I became too old for it. It was just too noisy.
Sure.
But I still love it, and I love walking around New York. I can barely walk anymore, but I love walking around New York. And I swear to you that some of my best ideas came from my walking home through Central Park from DC's offices at 666 Fifth Avenue through my place over on 72nd and West End.
Yeah.
What just intense thoughts.
You go to Grace Papaya. You get a hot dog.
Yes.
Right at the end?
Oh,
yeah.
Sure. Oh man, I want one now.
Sure.
Not helping this.
They're not 25 cents anymore, but yeah, you should get them. They're
No. I got a story about that.
So
Bill Gaines used to refer to everything to inflation by his hot dog index.
Oh yeah.
He compared everything to the price of a hot dog because when he was a kid, it was a nickel in Brooklyn, and at the time he said this, which was the mid 70s, it was like $1, but they were keeping it below $1 so that they didn't have to charge tax.
Yeah.
And then finally they let loose. And ever since then, I have looked at inflation through Bill Gaines's eyes.
That's yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, so the comic book analogy of that is something that that Paul Levitz told me, but I think he got it from somebody else, somebody older. But the concept is that a comic book should cost as much as a cup of coffee.
I think that's fair.
$9 for a comic book?
Yeah, a cup of coffee is a pretty wide-ranging thing in this day and age.
Yes, it is. There was this great scene in like Fantastic Four number 3 or 4, the first one, where the Thing says to Johnny, "Yeah, that and a nickel will get you a cup of coffee."
Yeah,
which was a very common phrase in 1961.
Sure. I think a lot about the scene in Pulp Fiction. I'm a big milkshake guy, and there's the scene in Pulp Fiction where she orders a milkshake and it costs $5, and John Travolta says, $5? They put booze in it? And she goes, no. And he said, it's just milk and ice cream? She says, yeah. And he goes, $5. And now it's not easy to get a $5 milkshake in New York. You have to work pretty hard to know where to get one.
You can't get anything in New York for $5.
It's pretty hard, yeah.
What's the Subway now? 4?
No, it's
$3.50.
It's 3.
Is it good?
Yeah, just went up to
good.
3.
I still refer to the West Side Subway as the IRT.
Sure,
that's just the noise people older than me.
Yeah.
What brought you back to Andy McDonald for this? You guys worked together before.
Yeah, we did Multiple Man,
and you did something. It was something else earlier too, right?
No, we never did anything earlier.
So Multiple Man was the first thing you guys did together?
And talking about doing stuff. I tried to get him to do stuff a bunch. So we knew each other. And then Multiple Man, when he was available for that, I jumped at it because I love his stuff, and we get along great. We're very tight. But Andy is exactly the person the book needed, because we needed two things. We knew it was a sort of somber character piece, and he can do acting and emotion as well as anyone out there. He's really going to sell those things. But also the scale of the world and the world building. There's an amazing moment in the call, and I knew how it would go because I know Andy well enough. But I called him and I said, it's Abe Lincoln. It's a robot Abe Lincoln in this world, but he's the only robot that looks like a person. And Andy said, what do the other robots look like? And I paused and I said, they all look different. Every one of them looks different. And I think most of the time you say that to an artist and you're going to get hung up on that.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, hey, you have to design
Absolutely.
3,000 characters. And Andy just quietly was like, hell yeah. And I was like, yep, that's why.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And he does both. I mean, it's a character piece with all of the epic world building, like he's designing whole species, he's designing whole types of robots and characters and cityscapes and environments, and he can do both, and that's really rare, and he really makes the book sing because of it.
I think that's I like I said, when I was excited about this book, that you were writing it, and when I saw that Andy was involved, I immediately was even more excited. The thing, so my favorite Andy McDonald book is Bulls of Beacon Hill.
Sure.
Which I've told Steve that is the most Steve Orlando thing he's ever written.
It's fair.
But it is. How has the process been? Now, how many issues are done at this point? Like issue 1 comes out tomorrow.
Issue 1 comes out tomorrow. Andy's drawing issue 11. We're writing issue 13 now. We've been working on it for years. We wanted to do it in a different
Has
way.
he drawn 2 through 10?
Yes, he did. We're not just doing the ones and then
I had an artist who made that mistake. We were doing The Flash. Butch Geist was drawing it.
Mm-hmm.
And he got issue 7 in exactly on time. That very day, the day of the deadline. Mm-hmm. And I was so impressed. And I called him and I thanked him. And he says, yeah, I got it in on time. Yes. And I said, yeah, that's great. Listen, how's issue 6 going? What?
Wow. I'm gonna, for people who are watching, I'm gonna share something right now, because this is for Mike's benefit. But this was the original logo.
Oh, yeah, you can't read that at all.
Yeah, you can't read it.
No. I hated cursive when I was in school, when they were teaching me to. We had fountain pens in those days, cartridge pens. So, and I was left-handed, so it was just a total disaster. Nonetheless, I am disappointed that kids can't read cursive.
Sure, I am as well, but also I didn't feel like putting a large chunk of my life savings into making a comic book to see if I could teach it to them. So,
sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, how has the process been from idea to pages coming in, and now you've gotten you're in a whole arc through this, right?
We're in a
how
third,
is that how is that
third
process
arc,
with you?
It's been amazing. It's been really wonderful. I think a big thing to sort of explain a little bit of why we're so far ahead. When we started the book, I was explaining to my brother how comics production works, because like I said, he's a filmmaker by trade.
Sure.
And I watched the terror just sort of creep into his face as I was explaining, like, oh yeah, we're working on issue 4 and people are reading issue 1. And like, he's very much a believer of the filmmaking ideology that you make a movie twice, once when you film it, once when you edit it. And that's, that's, he likes to, and he has an amazing brain for that. He has a brain for sitting down and seeing all of the pieces and figuring out how they can be moved, and story and theme enlarge the 10,000 foot view in a way that I'm very jealous of. And at first I really liked the idea that he was terrified of the comics process because he's my older brother, and it felt good to me. But then I realized at a certain point that I wasn't using his best skill set to our advantage and his ability to see it from 10,000 feet, because we wouldn't ever be at 10,000 feet. We'd be racing at ground level the entire time, because that's how comics are made. And so I just said, look, I can fund it. I can fund this. Let's do a year's worth of the book. Let's do through the first year and assess as we go. And I pitched it and to everyone on the team, and everyone on the team was on board. And it's been amazing because, you know, my thought process was very simple of like, I think we can make a better creative thing because there's more chance to edit. There's more chance to revisit. There's more chance to fall in love with something a year into the process and go back and put it in, or find that you don't need something and take it out. But more than that, there's also, look, I love the ticking clock of making comics. I love the concessions that have to be made because of deadlines. I think comics creators are brilliant type of creature because they can think on the fly, because they can move and deal with these problems in a way that I think other creatives really can't. But I want to. Or don't have to. Yeah, never got tested on that. But I wanted to find out what it would be like to make a comic where we weren't sacrificing our nights, where we were getting full, everyone on the team is getting a full night's sleep. No one is missing their wife's birthday. No one is missing their child's, school play. No one is making concessions or sacrifices of the art for their life, that we can have both. And so that was my idea. And I think the book really has benefited from it in a lot of ways. And we have gone back and done those things, but it also meant that Andy very early said something to me, which I loved, and we've tried to sort of take in as a mantra. He said, most comics, the first issue is the best issue, because especially on creator-owned books, people have had the longest amount of time that they're setting it up. They want to put all the big ideas. They want to get the best moments in there. They've had the most time to think about it. They've had the most time to draw it. And it's the thing that people are going to see the most. And he said, and I said, yeah, I think a lot of books, the first issue is the best issue.
There's a lot of truth in that.
And he said, but what it means is that you pose a question in the first issue, and then every issue after that is just diminishing returns as we get that question answered. And it's just, everyone's a little more rushed. Everyone's a little more hurried. Everyone's a little more harried. And you're just following through on a logical thing. And I think that's a reductive take on it, but I think there is a lot of truth to it. And he said, let's, because we have time, try and make this book bigger in every single way, every issue. And that we went back and just, he lived up to it. Francesco, our colorist, lived up to it. Like, they are, by issue 3, they are leaps and bounds doing far more impressive work than they are in issue 1. And we're trying to keep up with them on the writing front and trying to reinvent the book and think of new things that are bigger and better.
He's right about it in a lot of ways. And I will tell you, though, that there are, and I can't put my finger on them at the moment, but there are books out there that you get to issue 2 or 3 and you're like, oh, this is even better than what I thought.
Sure.
And those are the ones that really stick.
Yes, I agree. Obviously, there are books that have great endings, and there's books that improve. But I think the pitfall of a lot of comics is they spent 6 months on issue 1 and got the green light, and then got a month and a half on issues 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Well, a perfect example of that, actually, I can think of one, is like Justice League, the DeMatteis Giffen Justice League. Issue 3 was where they kicked off.
Yeah,
First 2 issues were
sure.
It's a remarkable situation because you got that monthly thing no matter what. When DC started, before Marvel, when DC was trying to reorient themselves into the modern age, they tested most of their new stories in these 3-issue formats, and Showcase comics are Brave and Bold, mostly Showcase, Flash, and Green Lantern, and that was cool. Middleman was 4 issues. Most of the rest were 3, and you got your beginning, middle, and end in those three because nobody really knew whether it was going to go on to a fourth, to an issue one. And what happened would be, well, that's cool. We're going to do an issue one, and we're going to start with a whole new storyline. We're going to carry over all the stuff that you liked about the first three issues, the stuff that worked, and we have a better idea of what really works.
Yeah.
But you get to press that start button again, and in retrospect, I like that. At the time, it didn't occur to me, nor was it supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, what we're doing here, I think we lose that. We lose the sense of seeing what the audience bites at, seeing what they react to. It's not so much of what I love in comics is that it's a conversation with the audience, that it's so immediate that you're thinking of things by the time the letters are down. You can walk into a comic shop in 40 days and see people reading it and look online and see the reaction. And I love that. I love the urgency of the medium in that way. But we're trading that for a different thing, just as an experiment. I'm not going to do all my books this way. I find it fascinating, and I think it's really interesting. And I think in this case, it pays off. I think a lot of stuff I do, it wouldn't pay off. I can say I talked to other creators about it, and they were like, "This is really cool." And I was like, "I need you to understand that fiscally, it's incredibly stupid. Like comics are built in a way to be as fiscally responsible as they can. Like they are an efficient machine." And I have just been like, "What if we built a car by hand?" Like it's not. You can't have a company that way, and that's what we're trying to do. So I think creatively, it's fascinating to me. It loses some of what I love about comics. It gains some other things that I think are interesting, but it definitely is business-wise very stupid.
But it's your decision.
Yeah, it's my money.
It's not the publisher's decision. It's not a bunch of people who don't understand diddly about comics. It's not their decision. It's not a bunch of marketing people who don't understand how to market. Their decision. It's not their decision either. It's your decision. It's your money.
Yeah,
and you take it for the ride that you get, and you learn from it.
Yeah,
as long as you can afford it. And if you made a mistake going into it in the first place, then sorry, you're screwed.
No, I've said this before, but if money was my primary concern, I wouldn't be making comics. My primary concern is making cool comics. So I'm going to make decisions that are often fiscally very stupid, but I think creatively very fun or interesting. And that's all I'm trying to do is make sure that my team has fun, that we're all feeling fulfilled at the end of a book. And that's all I can really control. So
I came into it the opposite way. I was involved in media since I was a zygote, but I've also been a political activist all my life. And I got into comics through that, partially because of Jeanette Kahn, who knew of some of my political work, but really because being a political activist doesn't pay the rent.
Sure.
And if I have to work...
So you went to comics.
I went to comics. I went the opposite way. Right. But I got enough. I was fine. It worked out fine. I still continued to try to overthrow the government and working still at that. It seems some things never go away.
Sure. Maybe they even get worse.
Oh, God, yeah.
They have been. I want to talk about the fact that you're working on this with your brother.
Yes.
What's that like?
It's horrible.
I mean, how has that been,
Yeah, it's been terrible. No, it's great.
For him. I'm sure he's terrified.
It's funny. People always ask that, and I'm amused by the tone of the question changes wildly, and I can infer a lot from people, whether they're like, "You're doing this with your brother," or like, there's a lot of people where I'm like, "Oh, you're not close to your brother." Me and my brother, when we were kids, a lot of fights, he's my older brother, a lot of fights, a lot of yelling, a lot of meanness, and we got that out of our system. We're very close, so I have a ton of respect for him creatively. I think he's one of the great people I've ever got to sit down and talk about story and idea with. And I hope that he has a lot of respect for what I do. I don't know that per se. It's not something we really talk about, but I hope he does.
Send
but-
them the link to this.
Yeah. I'll just say, does anything stick out about this interview for you? Anything you want to tell me? No, the thing that I like about it, you know, I've co-written a lot of stuff. I've co-written with James Tynan and Donnie Cates and Kelly Thompson and Mariko Tamaki and Alex Packnadel and Tyler Boss and all these creators whose work I really love and who I love as people. And it's been a thrill. Those are always, and they're friends, but the relationship is always still a friend work relationship. And me and my brother don't have to play nice. There's just no reason to. Like, we're just emotionally past that. And, you know, there's nothing
I brothers. It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
there's nothing
you may
I can
not
say to
be
him.
Friends with people.
Yeah,
But at the
there's
end of the
nothing.
day, you're still going to be brothers.
Yeah, and if I'm mean to Kelly Thompson while writing a book, she can go to the editor-in-chief and be like, "Matt's a jerk." That gets me in trouble. I was like, wait, he's not going to go to Image Comics and be like, "Matt's a jerk." He doesn't even have their email, so it's fine. But he, you know, I think that the what we do is, you know, at the end of it, we're going to be sitting across from each other at Christmas dinner anyway. So the question is just like, it's just removed a lot of the niceties, but also the compromise that comes with nicety. So he'll text me and be like, "Hey, this scene sucks," or like, "This isn't good. This doesn't work." And then I can shoot back and be like, "What do you have that's better? Like, impress me." Like, what? And it's nice because there's no compromise in the book. There's never a moment where I go, "Well, he really likes this, so I want to make it work for him," or he says the same for me, or like there's none of that. Every idea in the book is in the book because it's been tested by us both. And if it didn't win the argument, it wouldn't be in the book.
There you go.
I want to be clear about what you're saying there, because when it does happen where you feel there's compromise, right? That doesn't mean that it's less.
No.
It just means that your perspective is that you compromised, and where another person may have the same perspective where they compromised for you.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, it might be the right answer both times. But in this situation, I get what you're saying.
100%. But I would also add that, and maybe this is a very puritanical way of thinking it, or a very whatever poetic way of thinking about it. But obviously what we're making is a commercial paper product that people buy for a few bucks. And I'm not pretending that we're silly more than we are, but it's also art. And I think the purest any art is going to be is a pure distillation of someone's thoughts and beliefs. And so when there's two people who are arguing or even politely disagreeing, and you're getting some thing that is a mix of these two opposing ideas, it's not stronger for it for the most part.
Okay, that's fair.
I think there are times where you can definitely say it is stronger for it, but what you're really saying is like,
definition of it. I agree with you.
Yeah. Compromise in art, I think, is not something we should be striving for. I think it's probably never particularly beneficial.
No, I agree. As an editor, I've been placed in the highly uncomfortable position on maybe two occasions of dealing with a book where the creative team actually hated each other.
Do you know which one?
And Bob knows which one I'm talking about, but I'm not, and he knows why I'm not mentioning names. but you know, enough money and I'll do it. So they all had to go through me.
Sure.
You know, I mean, everything. It's like, can't you guys just talk?
Yeah.
You know, let me know how it works out and who's still surviving. No. It all went through me, and that was a very difficult procedure.
Sure.
And the book was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
It worked. And that's all that matters. At the end of the day, that is what matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was the other situation? You said there was that one. What was the other one where you were questioned?
questioned?
I don't know. You said you were put in a tough situation. One was the
Oh yeah, there were situations where the writer and the artist would be just having a disagreement over something, not actively dislike each other.
Sure.
I should point out that the two who actively disliked each other after the whole thing, a couple of years later, let go and became the best of friends.
I am witness to that too.
And you are witness that. And now people really want to know.
Yeah, I think that there's something to be said for not getting along when you make something. I think it's interesting. I think it could create good tension.
It creates opportunity. It can create opportunities. It depends on how you react.
Sure. You have to be professional. You have to be
right.
Good at dealing with conflict.
Right. I mean, if I knew what it was like to be an editor when I was in high school, and I kind of did, but that's beside the point. I would have taken psychology classes.
Yeah.
But I wound up studying some of that stuff later.
Sure.
When I was in rock and roll radio, I became a shrink.
So, Matthew, I'm so glad you've done this. We have talked about the things that are coming out. There's we haven't really talked about King Spawn, but King Spawn is also part of Spawn, and there's that, and there's if you weren't paying attention, the book that we've been talking about for the last 20-30 minutes has been If Destruction Be Our Lot, which comes out tomorrow at comic shops on May 6th. We have more to talk about. I want to talk about the fact that there is not a creator-owned Matthew Rosenberg book that has less than 5 letters in the name and the title. That was suicide in the past. Like,
sure.
You can't make why is that? Why is it
why do I like long titles?
Yes, why do you like long titles, and do you yell at people who now everybody has long titles because Matthew Rosenberg had one?
Of course I yell at them about that. I hate it. All those people I wish nothing but ill on them. So I like a long title. I'm from a bunch of different backgrounds that like that kind of thing. I love, like Japanese 70s, 60s, 70s Japanese crime film and things like that they love long titles. And I like manga likes long titles. I like indie rock and punk rock, and there was a lot of long titles in that. But
the thing that they're not just long titles though. They are sentences. They mean something. There's a lot of that.
A big moment for me. I worked in a comic shop when I was starting. I had a career job, and I wanted to make comics, and I wanted to quit my career job, and I did. And then I was like, well, I need to be around comics more while I'm trying to make them. I can't just sit in my house all day and theoretically figure out how to make comics. I should be around them.
Right.
So I took a job in a comic shop, and I remember early on.
Which one? Forbidden
Planet.
Okay.
Yeah, the big boy.
It's a cool store.
It is a cool store. I early on, not that early. I was already making stuff, but I was liking long titles and thinking that. And then I had a moment where a customer came in and they said, I'm looking for a book. And I said, okay. And they said, I'm looking for a book, Warren Ellis's The Woods. And I said, no, Warren Ellis writes a book called Trees. James Tynan writes a book called The Woods. And the customer went, no, Warren Ellis is The Woods. And I was like, no, Trees or The Woods. Like you can have Warren Ellis or you can have The Woods. And the customer was adamant. And I had to go get both books off the shelf and be like, which is it? And they grumpily took the book they wanted and
which one
left. They wanted Trees. They wanted Warren Ellis's Trees. And I was friends with James. I've been friends with James since before the rest was a published writer.
Sure.
And I messaged him. I think I saw him, and I just said to him, I was like, I'm never doing one-word titles. I'm never going to do that. and he was like, no. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I was like, and I was working on We Can Never Go Home at the time. And he was like, yeah, We Can Never Go Home. He's like, people are going to get it wrong. And I was like, they are, but if I'm the only person doing this, they get close enough, and the person who works in a comic shop will know what they mean. You can say We Can Never Go Home again, or we can't go
literally
home.
Had that conversation with my comic shop when I told them you were going to be on the show, and we're talking about the titles that you were having. It's like, oh, which long title,
Yeah. They all know. They get annoyed when they try and find it in a search engine. But also, I started my career in when Twitter mattered, and it was very easy when I started. Yeah, well, no, but you could just term search. You could just search the title of your book, and I would go when A Week and Never Go Home was coming out. I would literally just retweet anyone who mentioned the book. And what would happen is that people kept saying to me, like, man, everyone is talking about your book. And I'd be like, no, they're not. 20 people are talking about it. And I just made all of them show up in your feed, and it creates the illusion that anyone cares. No one is talking about my book. Like, statistically, no one is. And so that was very helpful. It was very helpful. I could find every review, every article, anyone who said anything about a message board and blast it. That doesn't really work so much anymore.
It doesn't.
And I don't really feel the need to do it anymore, even if it did work. But
and sometimes it gets depressing. Not because you'll find people who don't like your stuff. I'll bet you can take that.
Oh, yeah.
It's people who don't get it, who just totally miss the point and go nuts because they missed the point.
Oh, I mean, I get that all the time, and I'm okay with that. I'll be honest with you. If you want the honest truth, I do a podcast and with my buddies Ethan and Griffin, who are writers, great writers, and they lose it because we have people come on and they know that the thing that makes me the most uncomfortable in the world is people saying nice things about my work.
Sure.
That I will, if you read a 1-star review of my book, I'll read the whole thing to be like, well, do you have any insight into why you didn't like it? If you read a 10-star review of my book or whatever, if you give it a 10 out of 10, I can't read it. I literally can't get through it. It makes me so uncomfortable. And so they laugh when people come on and are like, oh man, it's so great. I love your work. I'm always just like, yeah, okay, moving on. And so the thing that bothers me most is actually endlessly searching for praise for myself to try and sell more books is a nightmare for me. It feels so uncomfortable. People not getting it, I'm like, all right, you didn't get it. It wasn't for you.
So what do you think about your work?
That's an interesting question. What do I think about my work?
That's why I keep them around.
I think there's some things I excel at. I think there's some things I'm very good at. I think I'm
What's one of them?
I think I'm a good character writer. I think I write character well. I think I'm good at giving everyone who appears in a book their own voice and their own, internal monologue, internal narrative. And I think I'm good at that. I think I'm good at knowing when to switch gears on tone and emotion. I think I can, I have a good understanding of, like, you say the joke right before you punch someone in the stomach. You make them feel really good right before you turn the page and see that their mom is dead or whatever it is. Like, I get that stuff well. I'm not such a big.
That's some of the most important stuff.
I mean, it's important to me.
If you can't connect to the character, there's no point.
It's timing, and comics has a different sense of timing because we in comics control time. You can have a bunch of skinny panels and it'll make it seem like it's longer, or you can cut a 2-second action scene into 8 panels or whatever, and that's absolutely wonderful. But it's unique to comics. Almost every other medium time is always a limiting factor.
Yes. Yeah.
Comics, maybe page counts, but even today that's kind of loose.
Sure. Yeah, I think that, I don't know. There's things that I value in comics and I try and be good at those, and there's things I value less and I don't spend enough time on those. Well, and I've had editors tell me, Tom Brevoort told me, he was like, you don't write fights well. And I said, okay. And he said to me, he talked about another writer who I won't name. And he said, when this person got here, they would do the whole issue as a setup for a fight. And then they'd do a double page spread that was all the characters running at each other. And then you turn the page and the fight was over and it was done. And he said, you write like that. And I said, that's my favorite writer. And he was like, and I was like, I don't know what to tell you, Tom. Like, you're trying to correct me on a thing. I mean, I could say it was Bendis. He was like, this is when Bendis got here. Bendis was not interested in writing fights. He was interested in writing setup character.
No, that's true.
And I was like, yeah, Bendis is the reason I write comics. So when you say that I write too much like Bendis, I'm not going to take that as a criticism, man. And he was like, eventually he got really good at writing fights. And I was like, well, I might not, but I'm going to try.
Listen, I'm not buying Matthew Rosenberg books for the fights.
No, I don't think anyone is. I think if you
and that's fine. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier about what Image brought and continued. And I will say, let's be honest, Image doesn't exist, and most of the independent comics don't exist without the things that Verse was doing.
Sure.
DC doesn't exist as it does today without the things that Verse was doing.
Yeah.
Now I'm making Mike feel uncomfortable, so that's fine.
No, because I worked. Yes. Aside from that fact, I worked for GC at least 3, 4, 5, 6 owners ago. I mean, I worked for GC when Steve Ross was running Warner's. So it's nothing. It's just as bureaucratic, maybe more so, but nothing else has changed.
So for people who don't get my emails when I try to get them on the show, I'm going to tell you part of my pitch is that, hey, instead of just coming and listening to my silly mustache talk, you can also talk to Mike Gold. And so Matthew responded, and we're going to talk about this now, because now that we've made him feel uncomfortable, we're going to give him an opportunity to talk. Matthew responded with, hey, my cousin is Abby Hoffman. And for those people who have paid attention, Mike worked for Abby Hoffman for several years and went to Woodstock with Abby Hoffman and a lot of things.
That's true. Hoffman. That's where he pulled a knife on me.
Yeah, that too. And then Matthew responded with, oh, Abby Hoffman is my cousin, and my dad once drove across country. And I told that to Mike, and he said, I don't know that story. So now you have to tell the story.
So my dad grew up in Worcester and Mass, where Abby's from. We are related. I think Abby is my dad's second cousin through marriage. I don't actually know. I've met people at big family things where they're like, well, that's Abby's. This
is part of a large Jewish community. This is how it works. You have a lot of cousins.
Yeah, I have a lot of cousins, and I'm terrible with the family tree. My dad's no longer with us. He has it all written down somewhere. And some point I'm going to look it up and figure out the connection. But Abby was thanks, Joe.
No interest in chat.
Abby was like my dad's second cousin, and my dad's brother went to college in Berkeley, and Abby wanted to go visit him in 60s something, mid 60s, and my dad wanted to go visit him, and Abby wanted to go to Berkeley, and so my dad had a car, and so they drove across country and traveled, went around, and took their time. They went to the only thing I know about it is that they went to Vegas because Abby really wanted to gamble. And my dad was like, well, I could gamble a little, I guess. But Abby really wanted to play poker. And my dad was like, it was very weird to me because he's like, we did play poker when we were kids, but like he felt very much removed from that, but he really wanted to do it. And so we went and played poker, and we ended up staying in Vegas for 2 days to just like play cards the whole time. And then we made it up to Berkeley. And, after that, I think my dad sort of lost touch. And then obviously Abby went his own way and whatever.
Went on to other things. Abby was a comics reader.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say he was in one place long enough to be a fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I distinctly remember one night we had about 1 million people, and we were staying at John Sinclair's farm in Ann Arbor. Which is a wonderful experience. But it was around 2 a.m, and people thought, well, maybe we should get a little sleep. And Abby said, I got to read something. Who's got some comic books? And they, we all talked, and they handed him some bunch of comics. He picked out the Thors and the Iron Man, and took him to a couch somewhere and read them all night.
You said he's an Iron Man fan.
Iron Man was in particular. He seemed to really like Iron Man at that moment in time.
I wouldn't have expected that, but
that would be like 1970 or 71.
Mm-hmm.
I learned more from Abby. Probably one of the 3 or 4 greatest influences in my life. I was lucky enough to be involved with a lot of really great people, partially because I sought them out.
Mhm.
So I learned from them, and Abby was quite an experience.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
So, how long are you gonna be on Spawn?
Till Todd fires me.
That's the right answer.
Yeah.
That is the right answer.
No, I when I pitched on it, he said to me, I said, how much story do you want? Like, what do you want me to do? And he said, give me 7 years. I said, I'm not going to write a 7-year outline. I said, I'm not going to do that at all. And he said, no. And I said, no, it's like, that's extra work. I said, if you like my first 2 years, we'll talk about what years 3 and 4 are, and we can check in every 2 years.
Right.
I'm not going to
You're
sit down.
making me buy Spawn, which is a huge accomplishment. So congratulate yourself on that.
Thank you. I'm pretty proud of what we're doing.
I'm looking forward to reading Spawn, which is something I never thought I would say. But before we let you go, so what can you tell us about Four Kids Walk Into a Bank, which is coming out in August? Is it?
No.
Is it? It's
No.
not.
The release dates are funny because
The latest one that is published out there is August.
Yeah, no, not true at all. They were saying April. That ends up in a trade and then on a Wikipedia referencing the trade, and I'm calling being like, that's true, and they're like, no. And I'm like, should we correct it? And they're like, they don't care. It's Amazon and MGM and Miramax and Orion. Like, they don't care that someone has the date wrong on Wikipedia. It's not their concern at all.
Right.
And then when it didn't come out in April, they were like, it's going to be in August. And I was like, is that true? And they were like, no. And finally, like, they just told me the release date. And I was like, okay. They're like, this is locked. But it's not August.
So there is a date.
Yeah. It's
not
later. I don't think I'm allowed to say, but it's later.
No, don't you have to tell us, but there is a date. There's a movie of a book that you made. It's a book that you came out of your head.
Yeah. Well, me and Tyler's head, but yeah.
And Liam Neeson is in it. Is that
Liam
correct?
Neeson's in it. It's an amazing cast. Yeah, Frankie Shaw directed it. She's amazing, and it wouldn't be what it is without her. Yeah, I mean, it's very cool. It's very fun. It's very different than the book in a lot of ways, but very much fundamentally the book. I think they, for a long time,
granddaughter versus daughter, right? That's a big difference, right?
Yeah, Liam Neeson's her grandfather. Ms. Page's grandfather. They were very delicate with us at first. We're producers on it, like me and Tyler, so they had to clue us into everything. We were in all the meetings, but they were always very delicate. And I finally had to just say, like, look, I don't care, like, if you change stuff. I understand different mediums work different ways. Sure. And I said in a meeting, and this didn't go over great, but I thought it was funny and Tyler liked it. I said, look, we're in a perfect situation, because if you make a great movie, people will go and buy our book because of it. And if the movie sucks, everyone's just going to say, well, the book is better, and we win anyway. So, like, we don't care.
I think that's a great answer.
And they not a single smile on the Zoom call, not a single executive smile, not a single producer smile. And Tyler,
that was brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Tyler loved it, and so I was like, well, okay, that's the bottom line. And then once I think I said that, they loosened up on us and whatever. And
we have to have comedy for the right audience.
Yeah.
Or to save yourself from killing someone.
Sure.
The stew.
I don't think that I think that half of the stuff they changed, I understand why they changed, and it's for the movie and it makes sense. And 40% of the changes, I think, are things that I'm genuinely jealous of, that I'm like, oh, that's really, really good. That's much better. And then 10% of them, I'm like, oh, they shouldn't have done that. That was not for me. But again, it's someone else's take, and they may be right on that. It just didn't jive with me. But overall, I think they made a lot of great changes. And then a lot of it is the core of it. They filmed in Ireland, and me and Tyler flew out there to the set. And there was an amazing moment. We're in we're behind the scenes. We're on a monitor, headphones on, watching, and they're doing this line over and over. And I'm just shaking my head. And I just turned to Tyler at one point, and I was like, that line sucks so much. It's so bad. And he was like, what? And I was like, it sounds terrible. Like, she's not delivering it well. It doesn't work. It's too. And I said, I feel like I should say something, but I don't want to overstep. And Tyler's just staring at me. And I was like, what? And he was like, that's from the book. You wrote
You
that.
wrote it.
And I was like, no, it's not. And Tyler knows everything he's ever done. And he was like, it's issue 3, page whatever. And I was like, oh, damn it. And I was like, it is from the book, isn't it? And he was like, yeah, it sucks. I was like, it worked in the book. Dialogue on a page is not supposed to be read out loud. Like, and they changed it. Before I said anything, they were like, Frankie was like, doesn't sound right. And they went in and she rewrote on the fly and came up with a new line that I was like, that line works great. So that's
the book.
Yeah. If we do a new edition, I'll go back and change it back.
What some comics creators who have a hard time dealing with is the fact that the movie people often know how to make a movie better than you do.
Sure, yeah.
And that's why they're doing this movie thing.
Yeah.
And they liked your comic book, but they bought your comic book so that they can make a movie.
Yeah, 100%. I would never try and tell film people how to make film. I would also not take lightly to film people coming in and telling me how to make a comic. So
exactly.
But no, I'm really excited for people to see it. I think it's really good and fun, and I think people who like the book will like it, and people who didn't like the book might also like it. So that's pretty good.
What studio?
It's a whole big thing. It's Miramax with MGM Orion, so Amazon. So it'll be MGM Orion is the indie theatrical wing of Amazon. So it's a Miramax release through MGM Orion. So it'll be in theaters through Amazon.
I had a neighbor who lived about a mile up the road from me who used to run Miramax.
Oh.
He's in prison.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not involved anymore. He's not involved anymore.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited for you for that. You know, because there as much as we talk about all of these things, when I talk to people and your name comes up, 4 kids walk into a bank is the thing that puts you on the map. And you should be proud of it. And you should be. And then it launched you into all the things that we saw in the intro that you've done up until If Destruction Be Our Lot, which comes out tomorrow again. And we're excited for it.
Thank you so much.
Despite the fact that it doesn't have a cursive logo.
Well, if it does well enough, we'll re-release the whole book in cursive.
I think
try Braille.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
I've said this before, but what made me understand that lettering was a skill and an art was when Todd Klein wrote cursive in Year One. Batman Year One, when in the journal pieces where it's all in cursive, I'm like, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
Like that was the difference. That's where I learned lettering was something special.
Yeah.
And not just a typewriter.
Well, we're not doing it on our cover of our book, unfortunately.
I will be probably upset with that, to be honest, because I get upset with lettering.
That's fair.
Matthew, this has been so much fun.
This has been great, guys.
I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate what you're doing. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and I will continue to be. And so,
let me ask you a question.
Yes,
quick question. Next Monday, the 11th, is Jack Kirby Day in New York City, in Manhattan. That's when they're unveiling his name.
Yes,
at his birthplace. Are you going? Are you going to that little ceremony?
I'm not going to be in town, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to go because they did the temporary one, and I thought that was permanent. And I was like, oh, I got to go down there. And then I went down there, and I was like, there's no sign here. It's just a McDonald's.
Right. So I think that's the coolest thing in the world now.
For sure.
It addresses that 8-year-old inside of me that didn't know Kirby's name, but loved his work on Green Arrow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Matthew, for being here.
We really appreciate it as much as we appreciate your work.
No, this was a blast.
And I had a great conversation, which I enjoyed that.
Yes. This is wonderful. I'm sorry to run, and we can't keep talking forever. But
No,
hopefully,
absolutely. Thank you for
hopefully
being here.
If you don't hate Spawn, you'll have me come back.
I won't hate Spawn because you're writing it, so we'll have you back.
All right. Well, I
All right,
appreciate
we'll see you
it, guys.
soon. Bye.
Take care.
All right,
That was fun.
that was super fun.
But you're really gonna have to sit down there with Spawn. Oh my god!
I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it because this is what makes comics fun for me, is that there are so many characters, legacy characters that we talk about all the time: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, all of those things. Spider-Man, Doctor Doom, even, whatever. The thing that makes comic books super fun for me is that there are different voices to be heard, different images to be explained, different perspectives to be put out. And one of the things that one of my favorite writers does is he takes a character, as an example, he takes a character and tells a story with that character as the setting.
Right.
And I anticipate Matthew doing that. I anticipate telling me a story in a world that is set within Spawn, and using the character to the degree that the character needs to be part of it. But there's something he's going to be telling me, and that's what I always find in his work, is that he's commenting on the world that we live in. And that's what one of the things about comics that draws me, is that it is a commentary on the world we live in.
Well, I mean, we look back at characters like Superman and Spider-Man and Archie and say, this is the fundamentals of comics. This is where comics grew. This is the origin point. These characters and a few more. I hate using the word icons because it's so overused, but they are.
Sure.
And I think after some 36 years, so is Spawn.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I am not a fan of the anti-hero. I like the shining hero, on the the one who doesn't compromise, and so to me, Spawn has always appeared or felt like it was that compromised hero. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I have been wrong the whole time. That's not the issue. But the point is,
but I can see what you're saying. Absolutely.
Sure. But regardless, the character's been around for a long time. I enjoyed the film. Like most people probably didn't, but I did enjoy the film.
I like the movie.
So I have familiarity with it, and I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, there's that comes out. And so for people who came in late, Matthew is taking over Spawn with issue 376. 375 comes out in 2 weeks, and there's a 5-page story at the back of that Matthew wrote. And then after that, 376 comes out next month, and it's all Matthew, and he's taking over King Spawn at the end of this month. And besides that, If Destruction Be Our Lot comes out tomorrow, which is his new creator-owned story with Andy McDonald on art, and his brother co-writing it with him. And who doesn't want to read a story about Robot Abe Lincoln?
Well, so much has been done with Abe in the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, the Robot Abe especially.
Well, I would vote for him.
All right, folks. We're just about out of time. But next week, Colin Bunn is coming back to the show.
All right.
It's been a couple of years at least since he's been here. He's got so much going on. It'll be a great conversation, I'm sure. He's a wonderful friend, and it'll be a good time to have Cullen on the show next week. So it's going to be Tuesday, May 12th. We'll be here 8:00 Eastern, 5:00 Pacific.
I will probably be talking a little bit about that Kirby thing I mentioned before.
You're going, right?
If I make it, if
I hope
I
you make
can,
it.
if I can make it, I will.
And I'm sorry, we talked about it for a while. I will not be able to make it up there. Too much real life stuff.
You mentioned you have a busy week.
I do. And so hopefully I will make it through this week. And next week, let me tell you, you will see an energized Bob Harrison in
All right.
Comic Nerd on Pop Culture Squadcast.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for listening, for being here, for enjoying this conversation. We had a great time. And we'll see you next week, and read more comics because they're good for you.
As always, we really appreciate your being here. See you next week.
This has been a production of the Pop Culture Squad Network. PopCultureSquad.com. How do you nerd?